Well, it's complicated.
Sure.
So the post-war period has seen the growth of the developing countries. Millions of people, billions actually, are lifted out of poverty. So the world's become more inclusive. In that sense, it's entirely a good thing. But the opening of the global economy has created tensions and stresses in developed economies. You know, the Asian growth model with the labor arbitrage has adversely affected individuals and specific industries and specific communities in a wide range of countries. So those are challenges that have to kind of be met. So I think it's a mixed picture. I mean, the overall is good, but there are challenges associated with that. And then you have technology as well operating on the structure of economies and jobs, and looks like that's going to continue as well. Well, you know, I think the straight answer to the question, if there's a sort of a one-sentence answer, is education. I mean, we're asking people. So some people think that technology is going to reduce the number of jobs in economies. That has no historical precedent. It's not impossible, but it's not the most likely outcome. The more likely outcome is that jobs will change, you know, that we'll operate in a much more digital kind of world and so on. And that means the challenge is to help people make those transitions at various stages in their life. And a good starting place is a very broad education that creates the foundation for a lifetime of learning. Yeah, it does actually. I mean, you know, so I view what's going on as kind of inevitable tensions that have arisen between an established economic power and a rising economic power. So I will say later today, I don't think you can just sort of make that go away. What we don't know is, once people get at dealing with these tensions, what the mix of cooperation and competition is going to be. And so there's a range of scenarios, you know, from, I guess the worst one would be a kind of economic Cold War, where people have to choose up sides, to something much more benign, where there is competition and rivalry that deals in economic terms, in technology, in national security, defense, stuff like that. But in the short run, it's going to hurt global growth. I mean, as long as this goes on, and I'm on the side of it not ending very soon. Well, so there's a lot of Europeans thinking about this. I mean, I think that the big mistake was introducing the common currency too early, right? Without a much higher level of integration in fiscal and other terms. So the Eurozone as currently configured is, how do I say it, short of adjustment mechanisms. So you don't have, so take Italy, for example. Our nominal growth, which is real growth plus inflation, is not high enough to drive down the sovereign debt ratios. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Government debt is about 131% of. The way that you get rid of that normally is you have relatively high nominal growth. So inflation helps, but we don't control the inflation, and we have a system that tries to keep it down. And we have a problem with real growth. And so we're kind of in a trap. Now, the way to get out of this trap is to produce a multi-year growth-oriented strategy that's credible, and then go to Brussels and say, we can't implement this strategy unless we have some flexibility fiscally. But thus far, the first step in that, which is a really credible growth-oriented strategy, hasn't been forthcoming yet. Well, it's possible. I mean, you can't rule it out. But I get asked this question a lot. There's, first of all, people don't want to do that because there's a real benefit as well as a cost to having a common currency. And secondly, there's a whole bunch of steps that have to occur, before you get to a bad outcome like that. And, you don't know how Brussels will react. You don't know whether the government will produce a, credible sort of growth strategy. You don't know whether the sovereign debt markets will, get volatile again. You don't know how the ECB will react to that. You don't know how Germans will react to the way the ECB reacts, etc. So what I say to people is, by the time you get to the end of that tree, it's so confusing and complicated that it's hard to predict what'll come at the end. But my bottom line is, I don't think we're going to have Italy drop out of the euro anytime soon.